already ordered one of these. I'll point out which one when we get to it, because the deal was that good, even I couldn't resist this. Hey, for those that don't know, because I know that we have new people tuning in all the time. My name is Shawn, first of all. Been a show host here, off and on, for a very long time. And this is probably my favorite thing that we do, just because this is the future, right here. Internet shopping, online shopping, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of these things. So this is a great venue. Plus it gives me a chance to do a little bit longer bits of information about timepieces. I've been a watch collector since I was a teenager, which was a long time ago. And my love of watches goes back to, I actually pinpointed it to about 7 years old, and I'll tell you how I get to that number coming up at some point here too. We have a lot of great watch brands at Shop LC, and this is going to be a lot of fun. This is an interactive show, so if you have questions, I'll be happy to address them. I have DJ behind the scenes here frantically getting everything set up, and he'll be monitoring all the different chats, because are there chats on all the socials? I mean, TikTok, everything?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's chat boxes there, and he's able to monitor all of them. So if you have questions, please toss them out at me. We're going to get started, though, with one of our proprietary lines. Now, here's what I mean when I say that. This is number 101, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Number 101. Getting this down now. Eon 1962. We in this interactive show are going to showcase some of our own proprietary lines, which would be an Eon 1962, a Genoa, a Strawn. We're also going to get to some other brands like Adidas. I have Gamages of London. I have Aviator. I have a number of BCBG fashion brands. So these are brands that we don't actually make. Eon 1962, we make, we manufacture. By the way, if you're watching this, share it. Let your friends know that you're watching this. And especially if you know anybody who's a timepiece lover and collector, because this is my dream come true. A show where I can just actually chat about watches. I'm not out here to hit sales targets and do all that. We are here to talk timepieces. Oh my gosh. This is beautiful. This really is beautiful. This is from our Eon 1962 line. It is priced, by the way, at $119.99. This is on clearance. You're still getting the clearance price on this timepiece. So we're extending to you the clearance. The watch has chrome dioxide and white zircons on the bracelet. Do I have it behind me? I do have it behind me. Because I'm going to do this a few times here where I point out some things about the watch. I love this. Again, this is my dream come true. I can actually take a few minutes, point out things, explain things. First off, you'll notice Swiss movement. One of the things that sets the Eon 1962 line apart from some of the other brands, you're going to get a Swiss-made watch movement. Now, there are legalities involved in this. If I say Swiss movement, it has to be encased in Switzerland. Over 51% of the raw cost of the components that go into the watch movement have to be Swiss in origin. There's a comfort factor, let's face it. We make great movements in this country, not a lot anymore, but we still have some watch movements made here. China, there's actually some great watch movements coming out of China. Japan, obviously. But there's a comfort factor when you have a Swiss-made watch movement. Let's face it. A German-engineered sports car, Italian gold. There are just some countries where, gosh, I feel good knowing that I have a watch made with a Swiss movement. Mother of pearl dial on this. That's a genuine piece of mother of pearl. Incidentally, if you're ready to buy, what did I say the price? $119. Go to the little chat box there. Sold 101 is what you're going to put in, and that way we can get your order in. Sold 101 would be how you want to order this. Or obviously, if you want to go to shoplc.com and order that one, you can as well. All of the green stones, chrome dioxide. Absolutely gorgeous examples of beautiful chrome dioxide. The other accent stones here, all white zircon. It's a doubly refractive stone, sparkles like a diamond, has the glitz and the glam like a diamond. It is beautiful. The entire watch, entire with one qualification, is sterling silver. All the prongs silver, all the settings sterling silver. Only part that isn't, case back, is going to be in stainless steel. That's hypoallergenic. That is actually a good thing that is in stainless steel. Durability, because obviously that's going to come on and off anytime the batteries need to change. Which, by the way, I have to address this topic because this is something I'll get emails on, and I understand why people would be frustrated because we'll get emails from someone saying, my watch battery died after a year and a half. You know, what kind of a watch is this? It has nothing to do with the timepiece. If the battery does die after 9 months, and I've had this happen too with new watch batteries that I've had put in watches. If the battery going into the watch is old to begin with, that's where you can have problems. And there's no real way of knowing. I mean, I guess technically there is, but if you're buying a watch with the battery already in it, which you are obviously, there's no way to know how old that battery is when it goes in. So if it dies after 9 months, it has nothing to do with the quality of the watch. Other thing too, they can go 3.5 years. I literally, last time I went to a little hometown, small town jeweler to have, because I at one point brought in like 8 watches that needed batteries. Even though I have a toolkit at home, and I can change a battery myself, when it comes to the Swiss watches, I like to have the pros do it. So, and then plus they're responsible if something goes wrong. Anyway, and so I took 8 in at once, and some of those were dead in, well, a year and a half. Some are still going now 3 years later. So there's no way to really know how long that watch battery is going to last. Yes, sounds silly to say, but yes, the battery is included with your watch. By the way, this is a 4.3 star rated item on our website, so it's a very highly rated item, and we do have a choice of the 7.25 or the 8-inch length to the bracelet. Again, remember the entire bracelet is sterling silver. Eon 1962 is our line of high-end watches, and it is the line that you look for things like a Swiss movement. Not all of them will have sterling silver, many of them do. So there's a lot of things that go into each one of these. Now I did bring my calipers on set so I can get you case sizes. That is important to know as well. The case diameter is going to be 35 millimeters in diameter. Later on I'll show you how we actually measure case diameter. Case thickness is about, we'll call that 9.5 millimeters thick. Again, just for the value of the gems, 18 carats worth of gemstones, Russian diopside, and white zircon. That's extraordinary value at $119. This is still on clearance. Our clearance event on the network ended. Thank you, Kyle, by the way. I just saw your note there for the nice welcome back. It's good to be back. Our clearance event ended on the website some time ago, on the website, on air, but we still have some clearance items on the website, and this is one of them, and that's crazy at $119.99 just for the value of the genuine gemstones there. Eon 1962, our line again, Swiss-made watch movement in that. That is spectacular. So let me just set that aside for the time being. We, by the way, will have another watch. Oh man, we packed. Who schedules these shows, DJ?
Stephanie does.
Stephanie, okay. Many of you have heard her made reference to out here. I've known Stephanie a lot of you. When I was here before, she was my visual stylist, as we used to call them back in the day, and she knows me very well. And so I think she had in mind what's Shawn gonna like when she put together this show, because it is, everything is a hit here. Oh man. The one day I'm not wearing, I should have worn. I went with the watch that is not my usual. Usually on my wrist I have the same rose tone watch that I've had. I bought, I don't even remember how many years ago now. The one day I don't have it on here, so I can't prove to you that what I say about the popularity of that watch is true. This is from Gamages of London. Now this is not one of our brands. This is a brand that does exist, obviously, based out of the UK. These are utilizing, I'm just looking here. I believe this is, in fact, yes, this would be one of the Chinese-made watch movements. I'm just double checking to see if it says otherwise, which is great because there are so many. Actually, they might use Miyotas now that I think about this. I'll see if we can find out in a second. Anyway, point being, it does not have a Swiss movement. At this price of $137.99, it is all about the big, bold look. Now, I'm going to start by measuring this. who's there. Mia, how are you? Miss you. Haven't seen you in forever. 47 millimeter case diameter. This is obviously going to be much larger. Let me just show you these together than the one that we just did. So if you're looking for a big, bold timepiece, which the guys are, this is going to be for you. Dual deployant clasp, which by the way, that is the correct pronunciation, deployant, not deployment. The clasp we refer to as a deployant clasp. I gotta throw this on. This is, oh man. This is heaven. And I am not, well, I was going to say, I'm not necessarily a big watch person. This is a much larger timepiece today. When you go for something that is a statement piece, that's exactly what this is. This is big and bold. Couple things to note on this. There is a watch brand most of you know, you're familiar with if you've watched TV Shopping. I sold a lot of them when I was in Minneapolis. A lot of them. I mean, a lot of them when I was in Minneapolis. And it's a watch brand. I seriously, I sold a lot of them when I was in Minneapolis. Very similar to some of their designs. And they would get $3.99 for this just based on the fact that it looks like one of their designs. This has the screw down. Man, I gotta bear with me 1 second here. Go to the website if you want to see more images. In fact, let me point out what I'm looking at here. These points right here, they're actually screwed in place. That's not just a little dot to give it kind of a cool look like there's something going on. Those are actual screws that are helping to hold this case together. This is a big upgrade that you have. The dial looks like carbon fiber. It is not carbon fiber, but in person, on this shot it looks a little bit more blue than it does in person. So just so you know, it's not a blue dial. It is a grayish carbon fiber looking dial. You have the stick hour markers. This has a full calendar. Here's your day display. Here's your month display. This is actually, now hang on a second, because so the top pusher adjusts the day, bottom pusher adjusts the month, and then you have your seconds hand, your seconds display, and your date display is located between the 4 and 5 o'clock position. This is all done in rose tone, and where I started to go with this and thought initially was rose tone cases, rose tone watches are the best thing you can do. I get more compliments. This watch that I have on here, this watch I bought, it's I guess I can say this on TV, or on the web feeds. This is a Quorum Bubble. This was on my bucket list, and I finally bought one 20 years ago, I guess, when they came out. This was a considered purchase, let's just call it. I get more compliments on my rose tone watch that was about a third of the price of this, just because it has rose tone. And I always get the same reaction. It's just that people say there's a class to it. When you have anything in rose tone, there is a class to it. Even though this is a bigger, bulkier, heavier piece, there is a class to having something in rose tone that will never be surpassed. Yes, this has some weight to it. Note to self, I keep meaning to buy a new gram scale because I need to be able to give you the weight on these pieces, and I don't know what happened to mine from the time I was here before until now, because this has some heft. This is probably pushing 140, 150 grams in weight. If you remember back when I was working up north, I used to work with my friend Ryan, who sells a lot of the watch brand that I was alluding to a moment ago. He's still one of my best friends in the world. And we used to have so much fun working together because we would have this competition. I'm a very competitive person. And so is he. And so we would always have this competition on air trying to guess the weight of the watches. And so I think there might be some clips of that on my YouTube channel. I don't know. On my YouTube, I have a ton of old video. So if you ever just want to check that out, just search my name. You can find me on YouTube there. I'm on all the social media, by the way, even TikTok, which I'm being brought into kicking and screaming, but you can find me in my 8 videos there. My one video has 40,000 views.
Oh, dang.
No, and it's the most throwaway video ever. I literally, let me tell you this story quick. I'm sitting at Dillard's, waiting for a friend of mine who's using the restroom. And as I'm sitting outside this, like the customer service area was over here, I'm just looking around and I'm thinking, this is the most 80s decor I've ever seen. And it really, they have not remodeled this Dillard's probably since 1987. So I took just some pictures and put to, what was the song? Oh man. We Built This City. Old 1980s music. I put that music to just a quick little video of the 80s decor and put something like, doesn't get any more 80s than this. 40,000 views of that. Everything else, 600, 700. I don't understand their algorithm that all of a sudden that video gets 40,000 views and nothing else gets anything. Where are we moving to? Back into, okay. Another marriage of 2 things. Eon 1962. This is our proprietary line of watches, as I mentioned earlier. Then we combine it with the Bali Legacy collection, which is our line of sterling silver. Yeah, I can show this, I think. I am going to have no clue whether you can see this sticker. On the inside, there's going to be a little sticker. And it says Indonesia, STS 925. Let me explain what that is. Indonesia is where this silver, let's put the watch part aside for a moment. The silver bangle itself, all of that, was crafted in Indonesia. The Bali Legacy collection epitomizes the best in the Indonesian craftspeople and the artistry that comes out of that country. It's amazing. It's fantastic. So, when you see that sticker, that's what that's going to be. The STS, that's one of our corporate entities here, and the 925 sterling silver. The watch movement, though, that goes back to the fact that it is Swiss in origin. So what they do when they make these man, this is well made. I'm seeing this one for the first time. This is something that has arrived since I came back to the channel. They do the final assembly of everything in Indonesia. The watch industry is very interesting, to say the least, which is why I'm always very careful when I talk about the terms that I use. Swiss movement. Yes, there is a Swiss watch movement in this timepiece. Now that is different, always remember, than if I said something is Swiss made. Swiss made means that the movement, the encasement, I get over 51% of the raw cost of the components that go into it, all has to be done in Switzerland. So this could not be Swiss made and marked as such because it's made in Indonesia. Does that make sense? The watch movement, that's from Switzerland. So what they do basically is they export from Switzerland to Indonesia the watch movements, and then everything else is built. And built, I guess, is the best way to explain that in Indonesia. I wonder if I can even... give me a scratch. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not going to push my luck any. I have a 6 3/4 wrist. It's not going to go. This is designed for the ladies out there. Because it is honestly a timepiece that I could see some guys getting away with wearing. Let's get back to the watch. I know. I'm going to get into these rants because this, like I said, is my dream come true to actually have time to sit here and do full explanations as to watch movements and everything that goes into these pieces. Silver. Ton of sterling silver in this piece, which is again why I apologize I don't have my gram scale out here, because this is, well, here, let me do this. It is an inch, almost an inch and a half wide. That is a lot of sterling silver in this cuff, and it is a cuff. You can see that it's finished on the inside here. So this is a true cuff style bracelet. The circumference, interior diameter, 2.5 at the widest, and about 2 at the more narrow part. Anytime you measure a cuff or a bangle, it's always good to know those numbers because that's going to correlate to how wide and how thick your wrist is as well. And again, sterling silver. It even comes up here. There's a wall of silver that comes up from the cuff. Here's the bezel. That is going to be stainless steel, the immediate bezel right here. This is all silver that is coming up. Here's the crown. Incidentally, because I get this question a lot, going back to battery life, can you pull out the crown to extend the battery life? Meaning when you're not wearing it, it's in your jewelry box, pull the crown out so the second hand stops moving. Answer is yes and no. Yes, it can extend the battery life to a small degree. However, and this is an important however, anytime that crown is pulled out, you don't have a seal. And the seal is very important because that is what's keeping dirt and dust out of your watch movement. Dirt and dust is the enemy of a watch movement. So there could potentially be a cost to having that crown pulled out just to save the battery life. I'm always of the mindset, look, it's $7 for the battery. The watch movement, a lot more money than that. So and I don't do it on all. Some watches I know I'm only going to wear a couple times a year. I will usually keep the crown out. But on the watches in my regular rotation, I always keep the crown pushed in, keep the watch moving. Plus, I don't have to reset it then every time I go to wear it. But yours will always come out, shipped to you with the crown out. There's usually a little piece of plastic right in there that keeps that crown from being pushed in and starting the watch movement. Totally off topic, I know, but that's the way these shows go. You have almost a tonneau style case, meaning that it bows outward, flat on the top and bottom, case bows outward. That is another big upgrade. The way that that case bows outward on the side, that is might seem like a little thing, but it is a big thing in the world of timepieces. Most watches don't have that. There's an added cost to that because your crystals, and the crystal, it's a mineral crystal, which is this piece of glass that protects the watch itself. They don't come standard in that shape, so that's a big little upgrade to be able to have that. And again, a lot of sterling silver on this. Could you do me a favor, DJ? Could you scroll just for a second? I'm just wondering if it mentions the gram weight of the silver.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. Shoot. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't mention that. I promise. When I get home tonight, I will order my little watch scale so I have one again so I can weigh these pieces because that's important to know. Anyway, we're going to leave that one to go behind the scenes. We have, now we're getting back into the sportier and we're getting back into the clearance mode again with this aviator. My head always spins. Where do I begin? Big timepiece. Let's just start with that. Case diameter is 40, man, I'm going to call that 44 and a quarter. 44 millimeters in diameter. If you love a watch that is straightforward, sporty, easy to read, this is it. Look at that dial. Stark black dial, white numerals. That simple, that easy to read this timepiece. I like that feature. I like the fact that I can just look down and be able to see exactly what time it is. There's an extra little, I guess again, I'm just going to point this out here. There's an extra, hang on, you have to go away. There's an extra dial right here in the 9 to 10 o'clock position. Here's your crown, and I'll get to these in a second. What this does is it rotates. Now, as that rotates, this outer wheel starts to move. So it will go clockwise or counterclockwise. If you look very closely, and you might have to go to the website on your own to really see this, on the outer ring, here's your hour markers, 11, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the outside, though, there's a 1, a 3, a 5, a 7, a 9, an 11, and then little dots or dashes in between. This allows you to know what time it is in any of these cities in the world. I have Rio, Caracas, New York, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, Anchorage, Honolulu, and so forth and so on. We have, who do we have? Bangkok, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Moscow, Cairo, Paris. Anyway, so what you do with that wheel is you line that up. Again, this rotates it, this moves it, with the time where you are. What time is it now? As we're doing this live, it is 10:30. So we're Central Time. So I would take Chicago, which is Central Time, and line that up right about here. That's the 10 o'clock mark. So then, in fact, let me do this here on my sample. Where is Chicago? Where is Chicago? There it is. So I'm going to line that up with 10 o'clock. So now it tells me, because New York is now pointing at 11. Caracas is now pointing at 12.
Hey, Shawn, real quick. Miss Pat Perkins had a question for you.
Yes, Pat. Do you have more women's watches? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we do. We have some amazing. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we have a lot of women's watches still to come. Don't worry. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up because we're in a time, Pat, and everyone else, where a lot of the watches that we're going to call, like I'm going to be calling this a woman's watch, I would wear this. This is of a case size that I would wear all the time. So some of these almost wind up being unisex, and conversely, the big watches like this too, a lot of women will wear. So anyway, so that just gives you, that's a 24-hour display. And then you have an all stainless steel case back, 5 ATM water resistancy. Aviator, not one of our brands. This is a closeout opportunity, which we have on clearance for $40. Sold 104 in the comment box if you want to purchase this. I gotta say this though, budget pay, $8 gets this home. There are 5 payments on this, so your first payment of $8 can get this home. That is extraordinary to see an $8 budget pay on this. Easy to read. For the sporty times, all rubber strap incidentally. We're going to have a couple watches. In fact, the Adidas, which I've already ordered, is going to be on a rubber strap as well. Rubber straps are great. They're comfortable. They fit well on the wrist. Total length on this is 10 and a half, almost 11 inches. So it is definitely one that even for a larger wrist is going to fit beautifully. It's got some weight, but it's located right there on the case, and since the rubber strap fits so well, it doesn't feel heavy. It's significant, but it doesn't feel unduly heavy because that distributes the weight comfortably around the wrist. Again, sporty timepiece, analog display. It does have the LCD display as well, which I guess I should mention. That's why your date is right there. One button that you push to have that show up. Okay, I know we're getting ready to move on. DJ has to prod me. I will talk for an hour on any of these, and I can do that. So we do need to keep the show moving.
So real quickly, this one that we're about to do is showing sold out on the web, but I just asked the team to release the quantity for this, so we will have some for this.
Okay, it does say out of stock on the website, but we have some quantity that is just going to go in, so don't worry about that. It is on clearance. $74 is your price for this Carrero. This is another one of the outside of Shop LC brands. It is designer, and oh my word. Okay. Again, my brain is spinning. Where do I begin? I guess I'm going to point out the obvious. Roman numerals, to me the obvious, marking all of the hours. Classiest thing in the world is a watch with Roman numerals. I don't know what there is about it, if it's just the very historic kind of look that you have with Roman numerals, but that is so classy. This is for the ladies. Let me get you a length on this. There are removable links. In fact, I'll go into more detail on that too. 8 inches maximum length. There are 1, 2, 3. Oh boy, there's a lot actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 10 rows of this bracelet that can be removed. Now, I would suggest have a jeweler do this. If you have the toolkit at home and you're comfortable doing it, great. But this is a good example of one of the pieces where even I would let the pros deal with sizing this. These rows of Panther style links, by the way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in each row. Anyone that has a little pin, there's a little opening here, I don't know if you see that or not. There's a pin that runs through this, and a jeweler can take that pin out to shorten one of these. What was I going? Oh man, this is so nice. On this particular timepiece, there are Austrian crystals. They are of a size that look like diamonds. If I was just handed this watch and just held it out and looked at this, I would assume that this is a diamond watch. This has the look of a diamond timepiece because if the crystals are that big, most people aren't going to assume that's a diamond. These are very believably sized. Everyone's going to assume you have a diamond timepiece on when you are wearing this. And the way that they're done on the dial, again, very believable. There are diamond watches that will trade for $10,000, and I'm not exaggerating, that will be set up just like this. This watch utilizes, and I'm looking at the case back, there's always a lot of information on the case back of any timepiece. So anytime you buy a watch, any of these that I've shown you so far today or we'll get to, always look at the case back. For instance, it says all stainless steel. So you know that the entire bracelet is stainless steel, hypoallergenic. Anyone can wear it. Base metal bracelets, sometimes you got to be careful. This is an all stainless steel bracelet, anyone can wear it. It mentions 3 ATM water resistancy, 3 atmospheres. This is not a dive watch. In fact, I would take it off if you're bathing. When they measure the water resistancy of a timepiece, they're actually measuring the pressure resistancy, not the water resistancy, but that's another topic we'll get to later. And then it says Swiss parts movement. Now, what is that? How is a Swiss parts movement different from a Swiss movement? Again, there's legalities involved with all of this. That means some of the parts of the components of the watch movement are Swiss in origin. Earlier I mentioned 51%. That's the barrier to be called a Swiss movement. There's not enough here that they can call this a Swiss movement. And it could also be that the final assembly took place somewhere else. So it could be that, yes, there are some Swiss parts in this watch movement, but they exported it to another country for the final assembly or building of the movement. But it does have a Swiss parts movement, so there's what it usually means, because I know I threw a lot at you there. It usually means it's a Swiss movement in origin, but the actual encasement took place in another country, many times China. And which, by the way, I know we're in a day and age where that sets off warning bells. I have visited our watch factories in China that make these watches. There's several of them, and I visited about a half dozen of them some years ago. They're producing watches right now at these factories for brands that you may own that I guarantee are in the malls in your hometown. I promise you. When I was touring this facility, they had boxes of finished product, and of course I'm nosy, and so I'm looking in these boxes. I very discreetly took a couple of pictures. Probably pushing legalities if I show that, so I better not. But I recognize these brand names, and you would recognize these brand names too. So don't fear that, because the final encasement and assembly, again, this is not even one of our household brands, Carrero. I'm just assuming that that's where the watch movements were finally assembled. 8 inches in length. I didn't give you the case diameter. That's what I knew I was forgetting to do. The case diameter on this is about 38 millimeters in diameter. If you're looking for something, and the green is hot. Green dials, green accents on watches have really come a long way. There was a time, no pun intended, not that long ago where you never, ever, ever saw anything in green in timepieces. Even to this day, there's select few, but there's more than there used to be. You're seeing with the chrome dioxide accents on some of these. You're seeing with the green ring on this one. This is a dressy timepiece. Now I say that, but yet it could still be an everyday watch. I have very similar styles of watches that I wear all the time. They're considered dressy watches, but I wear them all the time. And this is a good example of one of those. Don't forget too, I don't think I mentioned it, dual deployed clasp. What does that mean? It means there's 2 buttons right here that you have to push in order to release the clasp. It snaps down once, snaps down twice. You have to push both buttons simultaneously for that clasp to unlock and open up. It means it's secure on the wrist, so you don't have to worry about this watch somehow falling off, because with a single deployant or some other types of clasp, sometimes that can happen. This will probably fit me. Let me see. Oh yeah, it does. This is a case size that is very classic, which is why I say some of these pieces are really more unisex. I have a lot of watches at home of this exact same case size. Exact same. So this fits perfectly, comfortable on. You can do your homework on this. By the way, 5-star rated item. I just caught that on the website as well. This is a $1,319 retail value timepiece. This is on clearance for $74. We used to sell it for $147. Again, it says sold out on the website. We have some stock being released, so you will be able to get this. That at $74 just became the bargain of the show. I didn't even recognize that retail value a moment ago. Boy, that's nice. That is a winner. That is a winner. So we're going to let that one go behind the scenes. Again, we're working on getting these out. And so stand by. We have a lot more to get to. Now, as we continue, oh boy, we are getting ready right now for one of the Eon 1962 timepieces that looks like you spent $18,000. We're at 112.09 on this timepiece. Let me start. I'm going to start just with the dimensions on this. I don't know how many of these we have, but whatever we have.
We have 7.
We have 7. Okay. 7 of these to go out. Today as we record this, it is the what is today's date? 22nd.
Yes.
22nd of October. Let's just say 2 months till Christmas. Buy this now, save this for Christmas. Length on this, 8 inches in length. Let me get you the case diameter on this. Case diameter, 37 millimeters in diameter. Thank you. I would bet most of you know the brand that this looks like. It is the most iconic, probably, name in timepieces. By no means is this an original design. However, no one will ever be able to tell the difference. The presentation is gorgeous. Again, Eon 1962, our line of timepieces here. This is what's going to be coming your way in 5 to 7 days. Now you're going to notice there's what looks like hardware, a toolkit included with your timepiece. This is what you can use to size this bracelet. 8-inch long bracelet, obviously it can be sized down. As much as that's great and I love it, I would encourage you to have a jeweler size this one, because if you don't know what you're doing, I would hate for you to somehow scratch the bracelet on this. So if you're purchasing this and you need to size it, spend the $10. Never, ever, ever spend more than $10 to have a jeweler size a watch. Small town jewelers, family-owned jewelry stores, those are always your best bets. Forget the corporate, the chains. They have a rule book they have to follow. Find a small little mom and pop jewelry store, $5, $7, they'll size a watch for you. I guess in a way the most I ever spent to size a watch, but yet not, was I was going to New York to visit a friend of mine who lives on Staten Island, and he said if you have any watches that need sizing, bring them, because he knew of this jeweler that would size them for $5. And so I paid for a plane ticket to fly to Staten Island to have watches sized for $5. I know, counterintuitive. Anyway, looks like you spent $18,000. Let me go to the screen back here so I can point out a few things. These are all cubic zirconias, and the dial markers are all cubic zirconias. There's a lot of CZs in each and every one of these timepieces. They're sized exactly, and I mean exactly, to the same specifications as the diamonds in the real version of this watch. So you have a total look-alike, down to the gold plating. I have at home 4, call them Folexes, watches that look like that real brand. The plating that is done on this beats all of them. And I don't know if I've ever told this story, actually. When I mentioned being in China probably 10 years ago, visiting our watch factories, there are a number of places you can go and actually buy a Chinese-made duplication of the famous watch brand, and it has their logo and has their name on it. If I were to ever take that to a jewelry store, by law, they would have to destroy it. That is true, because these are very illegal here. But I guess I'm just confessing to a crime, aren't I? Not really, because I bought it over there. But anyway, so I have these fake ones with the actual designer name on it that I brought over. The plating on this is better than the plating that they did on those that I bought over there. Anyway, point being, EN 1962, our proprietary line of watches. So we have quality control over this. And when we went to make these, we actually had these made back when I was here before. So this probably was back about 3 years now when we originally had these made, which is why it's on clearance for $112.09, 5 payments of $22.42. The quality is so good on this. If I didn't already have 4 lookalikes, Folexes as we call them, I would totally be getting in on this, because this has that same look, that same feel. When you put on, and let me show you again, because this does work for me. 38, did I say 38 millimeter case diameter? I've already forgot. Yeah, 37. It says 31 millimeters on our website. It is 37 millimeters in diameter, so ignore the 31 millimeter that it says on the website. Man, even the deployant clasp is plated. The ones I have at home don't even have that upgrade. When you put this on and you step out wearing this, that screams money. We right now here in Austin, we have the F1 race going on at the racetrack. And there are a lot of people that have the wherewithal. Europeans follow F1 racing, and that's their life, is they fly to wherever the race is. There's a lot of people at that track, literally right now, because I think the race is going to be starting pretty soon, wearing the real thing. And they can spend 20 grand, and that's pocket change to them. This has that same look, the same idea, the same feel. No one, until you get right up to the dial to see, oh, it doesn't have starts with an R and brand on it. It's a different brand. And if someone's that close to you, they better be getting to know you, because that's how close you have to be to the dial in order to see that. This has the exact look, the exact feel as a $20,000. I mean, come on. Look at this. This watch at $112.09. Again, I'm wearing my Corum Bubble. I spent literally about 10 times this price. Which one looks more expensive? This watch looks a lot more expensive. I love mine. Again, not literally this one, but my watches that look like that expensive one. When I don't want to say when I want to impress people, because that's not why I wear them. But when I want something that makes me feel like I'm really wearing something special, there's a extra spring in your step, I think, when you're wearing something like this, because it looks so classy, so expensive. Stainless steel case back, 3 ATM water resistant, sapphire crystal on this. I didn't even know that until right now. What does that mean? This piece of glass that protects the watch dial, that is made from sapphire. So that's a 9 on the hardness scale. That means it is scratch resistant. So if I were to take the little tool, this sharp object from this case, and start scratching on this crystal, which I am, I'm not damaging this. I wouldn't do that with a mineral crystal necessarily. With a sapphire crystal, I'm not worried about that. So for everything that's come together here in this really nice presentation gift box, the look of a $20,000 timepiece, I'll show you again, is yours right now for $112.09. It is on 5 payments. This is another clearance item. Clearance is over on television. We still have some clearance items on the website. Grab this. Personal recommendation. Grab this timepiece. Oh my word, is that one extraordinary. So nicely done, our EN 1962 line. I did, probably 6 years or so ago, my own little line of knockoffs of that watch, and I still have a couple. In fact, that's right, I forgot about those. That means I have even more of the knockoffs of the famous watch. Anyway, We're moving to, oh, we are moving. This is cool. This is a standalone. We don't have anything like this, anything else like this in the show from our Eon 1962 line. This is a, I'm going to call it a pocket watch, but I'm going to qualify that because you will never ever use this as a pocket watch. It comes to you on this necklace. It is meant to be worn as a necklace. What it happens to have, though, are some stunning upgrades. Now, for instance, I'm checking one thing here. It is, what is the stainless steel? Okay, it is not. For a second, I thought maybe that the case was done in silver. It's not. It is all stainless steel. I don't know if you're going to see this clearly or not. You might have to go to the website to really get a good look at this. This is jade on the outside of the watch. I guess we could safely call that the bezel. The bezel is really technically only this, but we'll loosen the use of that term and call that the bezel. This is jade and it's carved. It has the depiction of two dragons that are carved into that jade. Obviously in Chinese culture, jade is very important. Dragons are also very important. And so you have the symbol of two dragons that are carved into this. If you've ever seen a Chinese parade or festival where they have the very long, grand dragons, people are inside of the costumes, all sometimes there's 8, 9, 10 people in them. Very long depiction of a dragon. That's the Asian depiction. We have our North American and European version. This is a Chinese depiction of a dragon that is carved into that jade. That is extraordinary, the carving that has gone into this. Incidentally, it's I keep forgetting to mention, it's sold 107. If you want to order one of these, just put it into the chat box there. Obviously, if you want to go to the website, shoplc.com, you can do that as well. It's $67.99. We have 5 payments of $13.60. And it looks like we have some color choices as well. I have the white version here. It looks like, yes, the green is also available, and the purple. Now, for whatever reason, the green is a little bit more money, and the purple is a little bit more money. So this is the least expensive of the 3. But if you don't mind spending another $10, $20, you can get the purple or you can get the green. They're each beautiful. And you can see pictures of those on the website. So that's all jade. What is the dial, however? The dial is made of mother of pearl. Watch Geek Chat coming up, so you've been warned. When you're making a watch dial, now there's a backing to the mother of pearl. Think of it as, here's the main dial itself, made of a base metal, and they put the piece of mother of pearl over top of that. So it's not like underneath the mother of pearl is nothing. When they're making a mother of pearl dial, there is a great amount of breakage. Once it's in place, it's fine. It's glued, it's attached in place, it is secure. But as they're working with these pieces of mother of pearl, because they are so fragile and they are so thin, there's a lot of them that break in the process. That is a cost that the watch manufacturers don't just eat. You and I, we eat that cost because they build that into their production cost of the piece. That's just another reason why this price is so good, because you're getting a genuine piece of mother of pearl for the dial, not to mention the jade that you have all the way around the outer part of the dial here. That's the bezel, that is your jade. Now, if you've ever heard, and Cheryl does a great job of this on the network, talk about the difficulty in carving jade. It is a very hard substance. It is not easy to carve. So the fact that someone has the ability, using their tools, to get in and carve the depiction of the dragons, this is one of those moments where I almost get more wrapped up in the jewelry elements of a timepiece than the watch geek elements here, because the carved jade that you have, and that's jade as well, is really extraordinary here. And so for $67, that is exceptional. Getting back to the watch elements though, because again, this is stainless steel, there's your crown. The crown, here comes, I guess, more geek factor here, is actually a big upgrade on this. The space between the crown and the center of the watch movement is about 1.25 inches. Now, if I were to measure the space between the crown in the watch movement on most timepieces is about 3/4 of an inch, about an inch, about an inch. So there's a very long pin. When they're building these watch movements, here's the geek talk again. When they're building these watch movements, there's a very long pin that has to run from the crown down to the center part of the watch movement. That is customized. That is not just an off-the-shelf sort of thing. So that little added cost also gets built into the price, which is why this is a $280 estimated retail value that we turn around and we offer for $67.99 for the white version. The chain is stainless steel. That is a 32-inch long stainless steel chain. Obviously, this is designed to be worn as a necklace. This is not, I guess you could, let me look. Yeah, you could take that chain off. If you just felt like you wanted to use it as a pocket watch, you have a vest that has the little pocket watch pocket, or you just felt like using it as a desk clock. You know, we now sell on the website pocket watch stands. So I think in clearance they were $5.99. I don't know if they're still $5.99 or not. But you could actually hang that from one of those stands and just use this as a desk clock. I have several, not a lot, a couple pocket watches at home. And that's one of the things I do is just I display them. I don't usually even, in fact, I couldn't tell you the last time I carried one with me. They're just on display because they're wonderful little display and conversation pieces. So you have mother of pearl on the dial. You have jade on the outside with the carved dragon. So just from a jewelry standpoint, there's a lot going on here with the two carved dragons, and again, all of that beautiful jade that has the dragons carved into it. Another easy to read timepiece too. Yes, it's almost monochromatic, the way that the silver tone and the white works together so well, but it's still easy to read. So it's very easy. Look down at your timepiece. In fact, this is very common. The kind of thing that you'll see a lot of nurses wear. They won't have a watch or a timepiece on their wrist. They'll be wearing it in some form. So maybe that's someone that you're giving this to as a gift for the holiday season. 22nd of October today. So let's get serious about at least getting something set aside for the holidays. And that would be a good one. Any woman would love that. Absolutely love that beautiful pocket watch, timepiece, jewelry, pendant, necklace, however you want to call it. So we're going to continue though. We are going to, someone was asking about ladies' timepieces. Was the first one that came to mind. This is from Addie K. I am thrilled to be able to share with you Addie K timepieces. Got a story I want to tell. I'm debating whether I tell it or not. We'll see where my mind goes here. I'm a huge fan of this line because I'm a huge fan of the man in charge of this line, Al Nisimov, owner of the Nisimov Watch Group. He manufactures Addie K. He manufactures Onise. I have a lot of his watches. He is a loyal, true friend of mine, and so that's why it's an honor to be able to present his timepieces. Not just that, but he really makes good watches. I've got to, well, let me measure this first, and then I'm going to go behind me here and point out a few things. Total length on this watch is 8 and 8 3/4 inches in length. Then, case diameter, 33 millimeters in diameter. When I found out, and again this goes back probably 3 years ago now, that we were going to be selling Addie K watches, I couldn't have been more pleased because I know the quality that goes into every one of these. I've mentioned before that even though I have 85 watches at home, I really have 18 that are in my regular rotation, and of those 18, there's about 5 that get worn most of the time. One of them is an Addie K timepiece. I love this brand. Accurate, reliable, dependable. Now, let's go over my shoulder here and just, wow. A work of art. If this were in a display case, in a department store, a jeweler's in New York City, off Madison Avenue, you would not be shocked to see that with probably a 5-figure price attached to it. If that were done in diamonds and sapphires, easily a 5-figure price. I seriously, I could just stand here and just stare at this because that is a work of art. The way that he has designed this, or his design team, it's not like Al does all the designing himself, the way they created the artistry with the rainbow sapphire look, red, blue, green, purple, pink, yellow, and then another red, and then reversed on the bottom. Brilliantly designed. Then, your hour markers are these gorgeous colored crystals. Again, red, blue, same colors of the rainbow that you have on the top and on the bottom are duplicated as your hour markers. And then, the entire dial and the bezel bathed in clear or white crystals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows going in of individually set Austrian crystals in every single one of these. I'm in love with this design. The strap, incidentally, this I'll have to show you here, is done in blue. It is a genuine leather strap. Let me actually check something on this, because it's about a 12 millimeter wide strap. That is, I thought it was customized. It is not customized, but this is another good example of where if you ever do have to replace this strap, let a jeweler do it. Have them put it on, even if you have the toolkit yourself. I would not touch this one myself. I would let a jeweler deal with that. The brilliance of this brand. The way that the strap is designed, and this is why I thought it was customized at first. Here, I'll show you here. These are the lugs. Lugs are the areas that come out from a case that your strap is attached into. Usually. This is an exception because the lugs come out, but there's this separate, bless you, piece of stainless steel with a bar coming up here. That is what's attaching the strap to the case. That is an extra bit of customized detail, and then the strap is locked in underneath here. You don't see actually where the strap is attached. Brilliantly designed. Just seriously brilliantly designed. This is a 5-star rated watch, no surprise. At $67.99. There is no way this should be selling for $67.99. When I used to sell Addie K watches back in Minneapolis, we would get, for this, $2.99 probably. So it's $67.99 for the detail. It's all about the style. It's all about the look. Incidentally, let me just again look at the case back because that's where a lot of your information is. Stainless steel case back. Japanese made movement. That's right. He uses Miyota movements in his timepieces. What's a Miyota movement? Miyota it's a citizen owned division it's a division of the Citizen Corporation, I should say, that specifically makes watch movements for other brands. Citizen obviously has their own watch movements, but then they have this division within their company that makes watch movements for other brands. Addie K, for instance. We use Miyotas on some of our Genoa timepieces. So it is accurate. It is reliable. That's the nice thing about a quartz movement. As much as I love my automatics, they're never going to be as accurate as a quartz movement. Quartz movements will always, if you are a stickler for accuracy, always, always, always going to be the way to go. One exception, that's a certified chronometer. That's another story for a different day. But a quartz movement is always going to be the most accurate and reliable. That is just a gorgeous watch. Bottom line, beautiful timepiece. Wow. Okay. I've never seen it before. I didn't even know we had that in the inventory. That is spectacular. Okay. Last look at that. We're into our second hour. By the way, we're back this afternoon. We got some gold jewelry this afternoon. 2 to 4 Central Time. Is it 2 to 4?
Yes.
2 to 4. Yes, we're done with this one. First time we've done the morning here, at least that I've done the mornings. We're done here at noon, little break, then we're back 2 to 4 this afternoon with some gold jewelry. So I do hope that you'll tune in. Okay, this is, excuse me. This is the watch I actually have already purchased, and I am waiting for it to arrive. This is from Adidas. I didn't even know we had Adidas product in our inventory. I've only been back a month and I'm still learning what we have and what we don't. I did not know that we had Adidas product in our inventory. The price is $19. I don't know how you can pass this up at $19 for an all green timepiece. And that's what stood out at me. I have only one other time ever in my life, in my time of watch collecting, one other time ever seen an all green timepiece. They don't make them. And in fact, the only other, now that I think about it, because I have this at home, the all green watch that I had seen elsewhere did not have green hands. This even has green hands. It is totally monochromatic. If you don't like the color green, give me 5 minutes, we'll find something else for you. But if you love the color green, this is a rare find. Let me go to my big image back here, because I love this. I can really point things out to you. You move. Okay. Hands. Hour hand, minute hand, in green, second hand. The only thing they did, and this is brilliant design, is take a white dot and put it on the tip of the second hand. It's a little thing, but it makes the timepiece. It's like when a chef just puts the cherry on top of the cake, steps back, says, I'm done. It's finished. That's what this is. That is the cherry on top. That is done, finished, perfect little accent with that white dot on the second hand. Hour hand, minute hand, second hand. All of your hour markers also done in green. The case, the crown, everything is done in green. All the way around to the buckle, the clasp, everything. The strap keeper, all of it done in green. This is the coolest idea ever, which is why I had to jump on this already. Oh, they have a little upgrade. You know what? I did not. Isn't this an extra little touch here? I'll show you in just 1 second. I'm going to measure. First off, the case diameter is 40. I think that's probably the other reason why I gravitated towards this immediately. When you have a 40 millimeter case, it falls into that sweet spot, perfect size. I love a 40 millimeter case. Let me show you this little upgrade here. On the strap itself, when you get this on here, I'll completely undo it. Buckle closure, pretty standard issue, okay? Little buckle right here, little tab comes down. See this little raised piece right here on the tip, on the edge of the strap. When you go to put this on, you're going to fasten it just as you would, like a belt buckle right there. This is designed to lock into, this is called the strap keeper, this little piece right here. Almost every watch, every ever made watch strap has it. This will hold it in place. See how that locks in right there? So that is going to lock in place. I can safely say, and I mean this, I've never, ever seen a timepiece of any price point that had that. And it's actually a smart little extra feature. So this doesn't go sliding around and all of a sudden now you have that extra piece of material sticking out. That is so smart. Let me look at the case back here. Oh, again, I should have known. Because this is a sportier watch, it is a screwed down case back. There are actually 4 screws that take a very small Phillips head screwdriver in order to take off the case back to change the battery. That does add to the water resistancy. This is a 50 meter water resistant timepiece, all stainless steel, Japanese made movement. I'm assuming this is a Miyota movement. I can't imagine they would use anything else. And there we go. Nixon is actually the manufacturer of this watch. What does that mean? Nixon is a very recognized name in the world of timepieces. Not a household name, but in the watch world. They are a well-known manufacturer of timepieces. What Adidas does is they license out their brand to this company. Adidas is not interested necessarily in making timepieces. They're interested in other things, but they want to be able to have their name on a line of watches. So they license it out to Nixon, who again, very recognized name in the world of watches. And so they actually do the manufacturing of this. Now, as I put this on, sporty look, yes. Would I wear it to work? I don't know. I honestly might, because it's got a low profile, which I like on the case. But there on the back, see how that's locked in now? So that little strap keeper is not going to go sliding along the watch. That is just a really smart, and if you are athletic, that might seem at first like a little thing, but it's actually a big thing. Because if you're athletic, especially if you're playing tennis, doing anything where you need your hand free and you don't need anything in the way, that can get in the way. So the last thing you would want is you're trying to use your backhand to win the tennis match. You wouldn't want this flopping around getting in the way. It doesn't. It will lock in place. So small thing, yes, but it's actually a big thing to be able to have that. So for 19, that's why I had to buy one of these. I had to get this just to add to my collection because, again, all green, which is tough to see, on a rubber strap. I was the late joiner to the rubber strap fan club. Company started making rubber straps, and at first, man, I did not like them. They were uncomfortable. They were many times very stiff. They just didn't have a nice feel on the wrist. This is a very almost silky feel to the rubber straps. Silicone rubber straps have come a very, very long way, and this is a good example of that. So now I have several watches actually on rubber straps, and I'm still particular about them. But this is a nice one. This is a good one. 4 payments of $4.75. I didn't even realize that when I ordered it. It was $19. It's like fine. I didn't even think to look to see if there was budget pay. I thought the price is so good, but there are 4 payments on that, and there's not many of those. I think there's like 4 of those left. So if you do want to get one, call now. If you're just joining us, I see we have some late joiners here. Again, we've already presented some amazing timepieces. So this is the nice thing about these shows. They can get archived and you can see them later, and so you can hear my explanation on some of these other watches that we have sitting around here. The pocket watch. Still have a lot to get to and about 50 minutes to do it in, so we're going to get moving along. This gets us to another one of the fashion brand timepieces, BCB Generation. This is on clearance. I just saw the clearance price, $14. If you like this watch, it's only $14. And if you want to order online, you have some budget pay options of 4 payments of $3.50. This is all about fashion. This is not going to necessarily be the most complex, most involved watch from a watch movement standpoint. It's all about fashion. Let me start by going to the big screen. Actually, let me start by measuring this, and then we'll go to the screen here. 9.5 inches in total length, and the case diameter is 34. I said earlier I was going to show you how we measure a case. Let me do that. When I use these, they're called calipers, and it's a measuring device for watches. I take one end of the caliper just on the outside of the case in the 10 o'clock position. I take the other part outside of the case, 4 o'clock position. That is how you measure a watch diameter, and it's always in millimeters, no different than gemstones, always in millimeters. So that's how we get a measurement of a case diameter. If there are pushers, they're usually down here at 4 o'clock. The little buttons that you sometimes have, you don't count those. So a watch case is always measured 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock, not counting any pushers or anything, any decoration you would not measure. Speaking of decoration, hour hand, minute hand, done in this elongated kind of a pear shape or almost a marquee shape design. At 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position, you have Austrian crystals. Look like diamonds, they are not. They even are set like you might see diamonds set. The dial on this looks like mother of pearl. It is a simulated mother of pearl that they've actually used. Now again, the case is done in rose tone, going back to what we were chatting about earlier. Anytime you have a rose tone case on a watch, it dresses it up. It just makes it look more expensive. It's just the nature of the beast. That rose tone case is gorgeous, beautifully designed. I mentioned the term lugs earlier, and this is another good example of the way they customize this. In fact, yeah, I would have a jeweler size. If you ever need to replace the strap, and I hope you don't for reasons I'll get into in a second, I would have a jeweler do the replacement on this. Because these lugs come out and they actually point inward a little bit, and so your strap is attached in between these exaggerated lugs. Now the reason I say I hope you never have to replace this strap is because of the decoration on it. All of these flowers, I guess we would call them, the little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 banded flowers, and the little beaded accents are actually riveted all the way through. So they completely go through that watch strap. That is a quality factor. They could have very easily just glued those on. Take a hot glue gun, take those little components, glue them on, done. No, they are riveted all the way through, which means they're a lot more secure than going about it the other way in order to put those on. The strap is in this gray. It's a light gray color that is really interesting. Gray, I personally have kind of I don't want to say a dislike. Well, it's a dislike. I'm not a big fan of gray in watches. It's probably the only color I don't have in my watch collection. I like this one because it's more of a silverish gray and not like a cloudy sky gray. It's a really nice gray tone that they've used on this, and it works very well with that case. I just noticed too that dial, it looked more like a simulated mother of pearl there. It is actually a stainless dial. It's just on these images, it looked more simulated mother of pearl. It is not. That is a solid piece of stainless steel on the dial. You might notice too, something missing on the watch. And in this case, I think it's a smart thing. There is no second hand on this timepiece. Second hands are great, but let's face it, it's not something that necessarily you need. There's not a lot of cases where you need to know the time down to the exact second. I like having it, but there are times and places where not having it is a good thing because a second hand is constantly moving and it can almost be a distraction when you just want to look at this as a piece of jewelry. Pieces of jewelry don't have moving components usually. You look at it, it's beautiful, you go about your day. Same thing here. It's beautiful, good looking timepiece. You look at it, you see the time, you go about your day. So you don't have anything that is distracting going all the way around the dial, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. For some people, this can be a deal breaker, not having a second hand. I like it on this case, or in this example, I should say, because it keeps it very clean, very sleek. It's got almost a starkness maybe to the dial that is really interesting. I get so involved in complications and fancy this, fancy that, busy watch dials. Sometimes even I have to admit, less is more. Let's just keep it simple, but yet you still want it fancy. That's what this is. Kept it simple, but yet it still has a nice design element to it. I like this. It's definitely maybe more of a youthful piece, so if you're thinking about your daughter, your granddaughter, this could be the one for her. At this price of $14, you treat yourself to that too. We're going to let that go behind the scenes because we have a lot of ground still to cover. So don't go anywhere. More for him, more for her as well. If you do want to order anything, again, there's numbers that come up sold and then 10 whatever the number is into the chat. You can do that, or go to the website shoplc.com. You can also go online to shoplc.com with the item number, the full item number, 7-digit number. For instance, on this next one I'm going to show you, it's 7525823. If you want to order that way, you can go to the website and do that. Okay, here we go. I love ceramic watches, and if you have watched me over the years, you know why I love ceramic watches. And yes, I'm going to do it. Let me begin by just measuring this. This has a screw-down crown. I was not expecting that, and I'll explain what that is in just a second. Length of the watch first. This is one that's designed for the ladies. Guys, if you like a smaller watch, you can get away with wearing this. 8 inches in total length. Then, let me just see if it fits. Just to give you a size perspective. Yeah, it's gonna be close. Yeah, it's gonna be a little tight, so I would probably not wear this one or suggest it for the guys just based on that. But ladies, you're in good shape here. Case diameter, I did not measure that yet, so let's do that. Case diameter, 34 millimeters in diameter. Let's look at the watch dial before I do my favorite demonstration ever with watches. Easy to read. Again, simple, easy to read. Timepiece, you just want to look down at your wrist. There's the time staring at me. This is your watch. Arabic numerals marking all of the hours. Hour hand, minute hand, second hand. They do... I'm not sure if they luminesce or not. Bear with me a second. They do not luminesce it. Boy, that looks like they would luminesce. Luminescence is when they glow in the dark. These do not have luminescent properties to them. Hour hand, minute hand, second hand. Again, hour markers, minute markers, I'm sorry, what I was starting to say, right along the outside as well, so even your minutes are marked. Speaking of on the outside, the bezel is set with chrome dioxide. You've got 2.4 carats of exquisite chrome dioxide on this. Eon 1962, our line of watches, we make these, we design them, we manufacture them. So we have quality control over all of this, and that's important whenever you're dealing with gemstones, because you want to know that those chrome dioxides are of the top quality. We hand select each and every one of them. Now, ceramic. Why do we love ceramic watches? If you think of ceramic, you might think of great grandma's fine china, a delicate ceramic teacup. You drop it, it shatters, and you're in big trouble. This is a very high-tech ceramic that they use for these watches. There are only 2 companies in the world that manufacture ceramic bracelets for timepieces. And they're each amazing, they each do incredible work, but it's a very precise thing to do. How do you make a ceramic bracelet? Watch Geek coming up. It starts as a very fine powder, and I'm taking truly what is about a 20-minute explanation, and I'm going to do it in about a minute. It starts as a very fine powder of whatever color that you want to use. In this case, it is a black ceramic. It winds up getting baked, for lack of a better term, into these solid links that make up this bracelet. That color permeates these links. If you were to attempt to scratch it, and that's what I'm going to do, if you were to saw into the links, and that's what you would basically have to do, because they're so, I don't want to say indestructible, but this close to being indestructible, that color permeates all the way through. You will never, ever, ever lose that color. My oldest ceramic watch at home is now 23 years old. It looks as good today as it did 23 years ago when I first purchased it. Now, here's the fun part. Fun for me, and I do want to make this very clear. What I'm about to do is for demonstration purposes only. Do not do this at home. Where is my backpack? Over here, because I need something out of my backpack. And again, I'm going to stress this once more. Do not do this at home. This is for demonstration purposes only. I have been doing this demonstration a lot of years. I have my little pocket knife right here. Carry this with me everywhere, always with me. Now, I am going to take this, first let me just show you, these links are in pristine shape. There is not a scratch to be found anywhere. I am going to take said pocket knife, and I am going to attempt to scratch these links. Do not do this at home. And I am going to even start pounding on the links with the tip of my knife. I wouldn't do this with any of these other watches, okay? So, tapping away with the sharp tip of my pocket knife. Scratching. Scratch, scratch, scratch. You hear that? Okay. Did I just buy myself a defective watch? Nope. Those links survived that, again, extreme demonstration. Don't do that at home. You could hurt yourself. But that is what you get when you buy a ceramic watch. That color is going to always be there. The links are that durable. I wouldn't, even with a stainless bracelet, I would not do that demonstration because I would scratch the links. Not with a ceramic timepiece. So if you are rough on your jewelry, if you're rough on your timepieces, you should have a ceramic watch in your collection. There, as many times as I've done that, I always just kind of amaze myself. It's like, wow, there is not even the tiniest bit of a scratch anywhere on this watch. Oh, but that's the reality of things. By the way, here's my little side tip for anyone in Texas, especially where we are in Austin. Do you know where I buy all of these? This is a Swiss Army watch. There is a Texas surplus store in Austin where every pocket knife that is ever confiscated by TSA winds up. And anything that's confiscated by TSA. Snow globes, they get confiscated by TSA. They sell them all at this store, plus state surplus and overstocks. There's office furniture and all kinds of things. It's my favorite store in town. So in Austin, the Texas State Surplus Store. These are like $2. So that's why I have several of these. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is get ready for our next one. I am making the biggest mess out here. Let's see. Let me put this back in my backpack so I don't lose it, because this is invaluable to me. There we go. They're very valuable. Invaluable would be the wrong grammar. Anyway. Okay, where are we? Gamages of London. Here we go once again with another one of our Gamages timepieces. Oh, if you love a watch with a great bracelet, oh, I like this. I don't actually even have a watch at home with a bracelet like this. Oh, this is nice. Sizes. 10, it's misleading to say 10. 9.5. We'll call it 9.5 inches maximum length on this. And your case diameter, be a larger one. It says 45 on our information. Let's see how right that is. 45? Yeah, 45 millimeters in diameter. Here's an example of what I was talking about. See this? I didn't measure that. I measured the case from here to here. Do not include the pushers in your measurement. Interesting shot. We don't very often get them on a wrist. I like this. So you can actually get almost a better size perspective seeing that on a wrist. Here's what I was talking about though with the bracelet. This is a mesh stainless bracelet. These are very expensive to make because there's actually a thickness to this link. It's 2.5 millimeters thick. Might not seem like a lot, but that actually is significant. It's on par with a leather bracelet, honestly. And this is even more expensive to make because they're interlocking all of these rings of stainless steel to make this bracelet. One of the cool things about this is the way that the clasp locks on. You might have seen these before. Haven't used them a lot lately. This was very big in the 80s and early 90s, and they've come back again now, where you have this mechanism, this little locking mechanism that can slide anywhere along the bracelet. And once that is in place, this clasp comes up, folds over, and comes down. Now, it used to always just end right there. There actually is a safety on this that holds it in place and locks it in place. So it's a little bit more involved than you usually see on a clasp. Let me get back to the watch for a second, and let's take a look at some of the complications that you have here. Complications, remember, is anything outside of basic time. So anything other than hour hand, minute hand, second hand is a complication. And it adds to the cost of the watch movement, which adds to the cost of the timepiece, which you don't see reflected in $87.99. So great little value there. Anyway, first thing you will notice has the day of the week, and then the month, and I just noticed this myself, it has a second hand, an offset second hand in the 6 o'clock position. Now, you have your main second hand here, but that's an interesting little touch. There is a duplicate second hand. Interesting. In the 6 o'clock position. Anyway, and your date display right there between 4 and 5 o'clock. Here's a key word to this, automatic. This is only, I think, the second automatic movement timepiece that we've had today. Now, this does not have an exhibition case back. Sometimes automatic movement watches will have a skeletonized or an exhibition case back so you can see the watch movement. This does not, which actually for some people is a plus because now it's all stainless steel. It's a little bit more comfortable. Anyway, the watch movement, automatic. What does that mean? You will never buy a battery for this watch ever. Up until about 1967, every single watch made was a mechanical timepiece. So they built watch movements. 1960s hit. Seiko Corporation says, you know what, there's got to be a better way. And so they came up and innovated the quartz movement, battery operated. And originally, quartz movement watches, we had one today for $19. Originally, they were the more expensive timepieces. So if you bought one of these, they used to refer to them as computerized watches. It was a $300, $400 timepiece, and your mechanicals and your automatics were a fraction of that. Now it's the other way around, because this watch movement can be manufactured a lot less expensively than a mechanical automatic. So this is the art of watchmaking. You will literally wind the watch with this crown right here. You will wind that timepiece. So when you go to wear this, if you haven't been wearing it for a few days, the watch is going to stop. If I put this on my nightstand and I'm not wearing it for usually about 48 hours, it's going to stop running and it will stop working. So what do? Well, first I will set the time to the correct time, and then I will wind it up. Now once I'm wearing it, inside of this case, attached to the watch movement, there's something called a rotor. And as I'm wearing this, and I'm going about my day, and I'm moving my wrist, that rotor is moving around. And that is winding the watch. So I don't need to be winding this every single day. A lot of the watches I have in my regular rotation are automatics or mechanicals. So anytime I go to put them on, I have to go through that. I don't mind, because again, it's the art of watchmaking. You will notice with the mechanical automatic how the second hand sweeps. Ever look at a quartz watch? The second hand just jumps from position to position. And it does that based on an oscillation of the little piece of quartz inside of the watch movement, getting too far into the mechanics here. This, because it's a mechanical automatic movement, has a balance wheel. If you ever have seen these movements, you know what I'm talking about. And as that's oscillating, and as that's moving, that is, again, short story, causing the second hand to move. And it does it in this sweeping manner. If you look really closely, you can see it's not sweeping. It's making just very teeny tiny little jumps from position to position. But it looks like it's just sweeping around the dial. So that is old school watchmaking. Any person who has ever had grandfather's watch, father's watch from generations ago, it's a mechanical or it's an automatic. I have my paternal grandfather's watch at home, and it's a mechanical, and you have to wind it. Same thing here. However, since it's an automatic, it will stay wound if you're wearing it. All automatics are mechanicals, not all mechanicals are automatics, just to kind of keep that in mind. Case size, great. This is a very sporty watch. This is one of those where, because many times automatics and mechanicals, they're very dressy. This is very sporty, so it can be a lot more of a casual timepiece. If you do want to order this, again, sold 113 in the chat box, or of course you can go to shoplc.com. 5 payments of $17.60 it looks like for this. And again, Damages of London, not one of our brands. This is an actual retail item, and so you can find these retail. Boy, that again, the black and the red, just really sporty look. This has a tachymeter on the outside. I'm not even going to mention that. It does, by the way, have a dive bezel, so that does rotate around. Dive bezel means that you could use that to time a dive. I would not go diving with it. But it's just another means of tracking time. You just move that little pointer to wherever your minute hand is, and then as the minute hand moves, you'll see 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and so forth and so on. Okay, so we continue. We have 30 minutes to go and more to get to. Speaking of automatic movement watches. We have 3 color traces, by the way, in this one. This is one of our Genoa timepieces. I will never understand how we do this. Genoa is one of our household brands. We are selling an automatic movement timepiece right now for $24. This flies in the face of everything I just said about how inexpensive quartz movements are and how expensive mechanical automatic movements are. Because they are extremely expensive. Now, I hope, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to show you this at home. So,
It's good right there, yeah.
okay. You need to see that watch movement. I mean, that's gorgeous. Now, let me just explain why I'm so excited about that. Because, and you can see other images of that on the website. This watch I just showed you, it's a mechanical automatic. So is this. This watch movement doesn't look like this one. What you see here with all of that gold and all of the skeletonization that is done, because there's parts of that watch movement that aren't necessary for the actual operation of the movement that they cut out. They take the metal out to make it more beautiful. And man, that is gorgeous. That sort of detail you don't see for $24. I don't know the actual cost of that watch movement, but how then you get all of the stainless steel for the case, how you get the skeletonized dial, and I'll get to that, all the stainless bracelet, the dual deployant clasp, and we turn around and we say $24. I cannot pretend to understand this. This is not a $24 watch. I mean, it's $24, but you're not buying a $24 timepiece by any stretch of the imagination. I haven't even measured this yet. Let me do that. Oh my gosh. That just kills me. That price, for everything you get. Length on this. I'm going to call that 9, a little bit over 9 inches in length. There are removable links. Almost all of the links could potentially be removed. If you have the toolkit at home, you can do this one yourself. Otherwise, let a jeweler do it. Oh, man. Case diameter. I didn't do that. $24. $24. I'm not going to overcomplicate this. 46.5 millimeters case diameter. For $24. Listen, even if you wore this once a year, obviously you're not, you'll wear it a lot more than that. That is an amazing buy at $24. 4 payments of $6 to get this home. When you look at the dial, now let me go to the screen back here and just show you. Man, that is gorgeous. You can actually see parts of the dial. All that gold that you see is part of the watch movement, actually. The dial has been cut out in this ingenious way, so you still wind up with a pattern and something interesting to look at, but you can actually see parts of the watch movement. I mentioned earlier the balance wheel. This is the balance wheel. There's a ruby jewel in the center. All automatic and mechanical movements will have gemstones in them. They're not there to be pretty. Are they pretty? Yes. But they're there because they have to be for the movement to operate. Because they're on friction points, and where the movement would have metal grinding against metal without them, it helps to alleviate that. That's, again, short story version of that. You will see this go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It'll rotate back and forth the entire time that the timepiece is running. If it's not going back and forth, your watch isn't running. How do you know that it's wound up? Well, let me just, again, the beauty on this is unreal. There's something called the mainspring. And when you wind any mechanical or automatic timepiece, what you're doing is tightening the mainspring. In fact, you should be able, here it is. That's the mainspring right there. You can see part of it here and part of it there. And when you wind the watch, what you're doing is tightening that mainspring. And when it's fully wound, you've got about 48 hours worth of power When that mainspring is fully wound up, you can't overwind these, by the way. They build in these little safety mechanisms. You can't overwind them. And that mainspring slowly loosens then. It's releasing its energy, and that's what makes the balance wheel go back and forth, and that's what powers the timepiece. There's a great video. I should repost this on social media because I haven't in a lot of years. There's a video on YouTube I found from 1940 something that explains how a watch movement like this works. It's valid today. It's amazing that 80 years later, this old black and white video of how a watch movement works is exactly the same today. If I had a video from 1940 something about how a car engine works, well, there have been changes to our engine since then, so that wouldn't be valid. How a refrigerator works, there have been changes to that. A watch movement, mechanical movement, how they work is the same today as it was 80 years ago. That's just amazing to think about. And you're buying one for $24. For $24, you're purchasing a mechanical automatic timepiece. That is unprecedented. There's some weight to this. It's probably going to be in the 120 gram range. I'm just guessing. But there is definitely some weight to this. Boy, that is good looking. It's really, really a good looking timepiece. So anyway, if you do want to get this again, go to the website or just sold. What number was that?
This is 114.
14. Okay. We are now moving to, another Genoa timepiece. Let me just kind of take a second and explain, because I know we bounced around on some of the brands here. We just had a Genoa. Here's another one. Genoa is another one of our in-house brands. What's the difference between Genoa and Strata and Eon 1962? There's a number of differences. Mainly with Genoas, you start to get into more of a watch lover's timepiece than maybe a Strata. Strata is usually what you see on Friday. They're fashion pieces. You know, I'm not going to say they're necessarily the most complicated watches from a watch movement standpoint. When you start to get into the Genoas, now we kick things up a little bit. Most Stratas are going to have a Chinese-made quartz movement. This is utilizing a Miyota movement. This is a Japanese-made watch movement. Why does that matter? It goes back to peace of mind. The Citizen Company is the owner of Miyota. Miyota is a separate division within their company. When you buy from that kind of a brand, comfort factor. They're accurate, they're reliable, they're dependable. There are watches that sell for hundreds of dollars that have Miyota movements in them. So there's a comfort factor there. Let me get you the sizes on this. It is total length almost 9. It's going to be wearable up to, let's say about 7.25, but 9. I mean, tight around the wrist is the total length of the watch strap. This has a snakeskin-like look. It is a genuine leather strap done in green. Goes back to what I said earlier. Green has come a long way. Green has become a very popular fashion color now in timepieces. Let me actually go to the image behind me, because this is a really good look at what you have here with the gemstones that are on the watch. Two things going on here. First off, along the outside, you have, and I just realized, there's two choices here, because my image is for the other versions. There's green and there's blue. Do we have them both? We do have them both. Okay, so the blue that I'm showing you here on this image has chrome dioxide, excuse me, and neon apatite. The one that I have here has chrome dioxide and can at least go fire opal. So that's the gemstone difference between them. I'm actually glad that we have this image here, because I can talk about the neon apatites for a second. So if you love the blue, you're getting neon apatites, my all-time favorite gemstone. That blue color that you get with the neon apatites, there is, plain and simply, nothing else like it. It is neon. That's the only word for that color. It's neon. And look how perfectly that matches up with the blue on the strap. They've nailed it. Nailed that tone, that hue, that color. It's perfect. The color of the neon apatite and the color of that strap. Perfect together. Look at the rest of this case, however, and with this filigree work. Now this is done in a gold tone. Stainless steel in the case back. Gold tone on the case itself. That looks like a solid 14 karat gold case. There's no way anyone is going to second guess that. If you just handed me that watch, I would almost, in fact not almost, I would just assume that that is a gold case. When you have gemstones like this, or at least a vermeil, you would expect them to be set into a gold or a vermeil. So that has that look of a 14 karat gold case. And that filigree work, it's almost fleur-de-lis-like, the areas that are alternating with the chrome dioxides. And then groups of 2 of the neon apatites all the way around the outside. In fact, there, by the way, you can very clearly see Japanese movement. It says Japan movement because that movement is a Miyota from Japan. So it's accurate and reliable and dependable. The crown has to come out a little bit further because of that filigree work on this. There's an exaggeration to that pin that's coming out from the watch movement. Again, this is not off the rack detail. There's upgrades the way that this is done. That's very impressive to see. And you can see the ridges on the crown, which allow you very easily to manipulate that and to use that. Now, the only time you're really ever going to use that is when you're setting the watch, because it is a quartz movement. It's always working, always up and running, accurate, reliable, dependable. So you don't have to worry about that. The other thing to remember is this watch movement, and by the way, Arabic numerals marking all of the hours, hour hand, minute hand, second hand, very easy to read. Even though it is kind of a monochromatic, almost tone on tone, it is very easy to read the time of day on this. It has another stark white dial, not mother of pearl. It almost has a mother of pearl-like quality to it. There's a bit of a luster to it, but that has the look of mother of pearl, but it is not. It is done in a silver tone, which is wonderful. The strap is genuine leather. Now it's a 22 millimeter. When we say 22 millimeter, what do we mean? Because I'm looking at the website and it says 22 millimeter. And it is not. I don't know where they're getting that from, actually. That's why I'm double checking this. It's 14 millimeters. That refers to, 14 millimeters refers to the width of the strap at the integration into the case, meaning right here. So it is 14 millimeters wide right there. Honestly, I'm not sure where they would have gotten 22 from. Even lug to lug is not 22. But anyway, so what that means is if you ever do have to replace this strap, leather straps, it's like a leather belt. Eventually, you have to replace them. That's the kind of strap that you're going to buy. So when you go to buy a replacement strap, you will want to purchase a 14 millimeter strap because that's how they measure them, is how wide they are when it integrates into the case. Sometimes they say on the back, these do not. Sometimes if you ever look at the back of a leather strap, it's going to have a number right here, and so it'll say 14 in this case. But this one does not. It's a 14 millimeter wide strap. Remember, we also have, this is the green version of the one you see there. This has the Russian dioxides in place of the neon apatite and the green strap. The grain on this is designed to look kind of like a snakeskin. It's a loose take on a snakeskin pattern that they used on the outside of this strap. It's like a diamond shape that goes all the way around it. It is still genuine leather, even though it's not snakeskin. Now, if this were a snakeskin strap, now we'd be talking about probably another $100. In fact, I'm probably being generous with that, added to the cost of the timepiece. So the fact that it's a genuine leather strap, that in and of itself, I mean, that can be your $47.99 right there if you've ever gone to replace a genuine leather strap. But it's still going to be really comfortable on. I don't remember if I measured the diameter on this or not. I don't think I did. It was 30 millimeters is the case diameter on this. Now, let me qualify that, because if you actually measure the case itself, literally just the case, it's about 16, because this is really the case This is a very exaggerated bezel, but when I do the 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock on the outside there, that is when it comes in at about 30 millimeters in diameter. Either way, it is a really good looking case, and that gold work that is done in this, I think that just adds to it. It would be pretty in silver. In fact, it would be very pretty in silver, but with that gold detail that they've added on there, and even going down the sides of the case, you can see extra bits of gold. Again, if I wanted to be very precise with my wording, the case itself is just the smaller part in here. They take that case and set it inside of this setting. So there's a lot, again, it goes back to the fact that this is only $47.99. There's so much more involved in the setting of all of this, in the assembly of all of this, than you would expect at a price point of $47.99. It is our Genoa line. This is our line of timepieces. We have 3 brands. We have the Eon, which we've shown you a few times. We have the Genoa. We don't have any Stratas in the show. Stratas are the ones you usually, that's not a Strata, right? Yeah, it's a Genoa. That you see on Fridays. They're more just about fashion, and if something happens to the watch, it was only $10, and you throw it away. These are not those timepieces. These are fashion, yes, but when you have something like, remember when we talk about Miyota movements, those are actually repairable. Now, I personally don't know anyone that has ever had to repair a Miyota movement, so it's probably never going to happen. But they actually are repairable watch movements because they are so well known, and there's a quality factor that goes into them. Probably another reason why this is a 4.8 star rated item, almost 1 hair shy away from 5 on the website, because it is such a high-end watch movement. So it's accurate, it's reliable, it's dependable, and for $47.99 to get gemstones, 1.25 carats, don't forget, of genuine gemstones, in addition to the Japanese-made Miyota movement and the leather strap and everything else that we've talked about. So there's a lot happening right there. And it's $47.99. So again, sold $115 if you're interested in this. Put that into the chat. Or of course, you can always go to the website and order that way. Man, that is good looking. The gems on this are fantastic. So we will set that one aside and now get to, this is a really interesting timepiece. Now I'm going to get kind of watch geeky here at a couple different points because there is a lot to say on this one. Let me just double check one thing myself before I go too far here. This is from our Genoa line of timepieces. Okay, and we are making this available on clearance for $22.49. It's very rare that I can safely say I don't own a watch like this, but this is one of those times, and I'm more than a little envious of someone who's picking this up. This, man, again, where do I start? This has what's referred to as, and I think it's still referred to, as a TV style case and dial. Modern day TVs aren't like this, but old school, quote unquote, TVs were. And so anytime you have the flat across the top and across the bottom, more rectangular in shape, bowing on the sides, that is a TV style case. You actually are getting 2 separate watch movements in this one case. This is why I keep staring at this, because I really, really like this. There are 2 watch movements that are 100% separate from each other. One is Japanese and one is Chinese. Now, I'm assuming the one on the right is the Japanese made because that is more straightforward than this one here. And you can set 2 separate time zones here. Okay, let me get into this because this is so cool. Here is the watch movement that is closest to me. It's kind of a straightforward time of day watch movement. Hour hand, minute hand, second hand. complications. Here's a day display up in the 12 o'clock position. So when I'm actually looking at the time, here's my hour hand, here's my minute hand. Hour hand pointing to just past 10, minute hand pointing to about the 10-minute mark. Which, you ever wondered, most watches, whenever you see them photographed, they're set like that? There is a reason for that. And I've heard two different stories as to why that is done. First is usually the branding of the watch is going to be right up here. So when they photograph it, they want to have the hand set up in a way where it's not blocking the branding of the watch. That's the one story I've heard. The other I've heard is that it just looks happier. And this is an advertising thing because you want to subconsciously put into someone's head the idea of a smile. And so that is the other reason why I've heard that. So two stories that are out there. I don't know which one is true. But anyway, so day, date, time of day, second hand. That's one watch movement. I'm assuming that is the Japanese. This I'm assuming is the Chinese because this is more complicated to make, and I don't know if I could buy a Japanese version of this movement for this price. This is a second time. How does that tell you the time? There's two wheels. There's an outer wheel and an inner wheel. This outer wheel has your hours marked. This inner wheel has your minutes marked. There's an arrow right here that will point to 9:05. As the 10 moves up, 9:10. Follow me? So then, as the minutes are rotating around ever so slowly, the hours will rotate around as well. Here, let me just set this to 11:52 just to give you an idea how the current time we're at right now would look. I love things like this. So 11:52 would look something, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, would look something like that. So that on the left display is how 11:52 a.m. would look because we're almost to noon. So the 12 is almost to the arrow now, and we're right in between 50 and 55. That is so cool, and that is a complicated movement because what you're doing, and that's, by the way, what this crown is for. That's the crown that you use to set this. That's the crown that you use to set this, and that will set the day and the date. What was I saying? Oh, because what the movement is doing is now instead of moving hands, it's moving two separate wheels. I do not have that watch movement in my collection, and it's killing me a little bit because there's only one time, two times ever when I always talk about working in Minneapolis. I used to work for it was at the time known as Shop NBC, and before that it was known as Value Vision. And I used to do, for a long time, nothing but watch shows, but I've certainly done a ton of them there. Anyway, and so in all the years of watches we sold there, I can only think of two timepieces that ever had something similar to that. That is a rare watch movement. You do not see it often, and I think it's just one of the coolest. I was starting, before I left here last year in 2022, I was starting actually to work on a line of watches, and so maybe I'll pick that up again, I don't know. And all new designs, original designs that I had come up with, never even crossed my mind to use that watch movement, and I really, really should do something with that. So if we pick up that I wonder whatever happened to those watches too. I know my timing was terrible leaving as we were getting ready to launch my line of watches, but it is what it is. But maybe we can pick that ball up again, and because I would love to do something with that watch movement. That is an exceptionally expensive watch movement. Incidentally, little things like the screws that are holding that in place, those are actual functioning screws. They're not just there to look pretty. They're there for a purpose to hold that in place. In fact, you have the screws in the four corners holding that outer plate because that is raised up. It's hard to see on this image. You can kind of see a little shadow here because this plate is raised up. That's the dial. That is a plate that is raised up, and then that one is up even one more level. I don't think I did a case diameter on this, and it's going to be a little strange sounding, because if I do 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, which is hard to do, it's about 52 millimeters. So let me do the width. Total width that I'm including the crowns is 55 millimeters wide. If I go top to bottom, it is 37.5 millimeters top to bottom. Gold tone everywhere. It is on a leather strap, genuine leather strap, stainless steel case back, 3 ATM. ATM is referring to atmospheres. Again, it's a depth. I would not go diving with this by any stretch of the imagination. It's a pop-off case back. But, splash resistant is what I like to call it. So if it does happen, outside and it starts to rain, it gets wet, you don't need to panic on that. Man, for $22.49, that is exceptional. Just for that one watch movement, because that is the coolest little extra thing, to have those two dials that are working in tandem with each other as the minutes move. Then slowly the hour wheel starts to move. So it's giving you, and you can offset these two separate time zones. You might have one for your home time, one for your time, maybe a business contact somewhere else, or even if you don't, it's just cool looking. You look important when you're wearing a watch that has two separate time zones. Like, why does he need to know the time in two different places? What does he do for a living that he needs to know that? So nobody needs to know that. It's just cool. Also, the grooves that you have on the subdials, they're record-like grooves that you have, so the light hits that, and it gives this metallic-like reflection on that. Man, for $22.49, that is a killer deal for a watch with that sort of complication. And yes, it is a little bit larger on the wrist, but still not too oversized. Still fits comfortably on. Speaking of time, I know I keep looking at the clock here because we're quickly approaching the noon hour. When we put the top on things here. Now this afternoon, let me tell you what's going to happen, because now we're doing these twice a day. So we have, most days, we have our morning show, which again is going to be archived. So if you want to go back and see any of the other timepieces here, because we had a lot, you can go back and see all of those. And then in the afternoon, we still have another 2 hours. So from 2 to 4 Central, 3 to 5 Eastern, we have a gold show this afternoon you have to see. It's an amazing lineup of beautiful 10, 14, 18, 22, and 24 karat gold jewelry, so don't go anywhere for that. Continue to shop on the watches behind the scenes here. Go to the website, have a look around. Many of these on clearance still. This is one of them. It is still on clearance, so check that out on the website. Otherwise, we'll see you back here this afternoon.
Nice. It always take me a second because the power button is so tiny over there.
Yeah, no worries. No, great job.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Oh. People are slowly finding this.
Oh yeah. I think this one was just naturally less views because A, it's a Sunday, and B, it's something different.
Yeah.
Which is that's fair. But still a decent amount of people.
Good.